That. Next.
Yeah, I'm never been well here.
Okay, calling over this board room session of the Tacoma School District Board of Directors for Tuesday, February 28th. And we have Director Belichick, Director Morris, myself, Director Ellison. Do we have? Okay, okay, sorry. So welcome. Folks that are here for this, and the topic for this next hour is going to be board budget priorities. So we have our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Bertram. You want to start? Or?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start.
Okay.
So every year we talk about the board budget priorities. Back in January, we brought forth what was the priorities for the what was established for the 22-23 school year, and it kind of did an update on what those items look like in each of the categories. So it's that time of the year again to basically decide as a board what budget priorities you want to see as far as in ranking order, and trying to put a budget amount with each allocation. In the past, we kind of had kind of the ideas of what we wanted to see. Some of them had budgets tied to them. And so we just kind of want to rank them in order. And we also use this as one of our working tools for our budget advisory committee, which should be starting in about 2 weeks. And so I provided a kind of just a simple Excel spreadsheet with the rank order, the board budget priority, and the budget amounts that we currently have. And then I also attached the working document that we have for our session the beginning of January.
So when we look at this, these numbers that are off to the right, so outdoor education, 95,000 budgeted. What I don't quite understand, the staff and budget is 170,000. What did you mean by that? That obviously doesn't pay for all of our staff. What? Communication.
For communication.
Oh, that one is, oh,
That's kind of under
so
communication.
I was like, you put your 70,
Okay.
my will
All right.
gets going.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. I just couldn't make that work. Okay.
Yeah, the other thing I'm talking about that was the outdoor education. So that was the total cost. We have the option to get a lot of paper grants this year. We didn't have them last year, but you're just listing the cost of it
Mhm.
regardless of that, talking about what the revenue source might be funded. Yeah.
Correct.
I think the idea is to make sure that we're understanding what the board prioritization is, so there's actually a priority order. And then as we get to those issues, depending on what revenue source we can use, we want to hit those starting with the top priority and then moving our way down to the list.
So I can, you have some start or I've got some comments I can go.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess I'm a little, I know you want to own the before budgets, right? That's not really what I want to do. So these are board priorities. Some of them, I think we can eliminate because they're been taken care of. So there's instead of that.
Mhm.
And what I'd rather kind of do is not 1, 2, 3, 4, but kind of the ones that are top of mind right now. And then a second set that maybe is not so top of mind, so rather than
Okay.
like that level of specificity, that's a kind of I'd rather do. So starting with the ones, I think the school lunch standards, that one, I think, like I said, a long time ago, that one, I brought that one up because that was back when the administration was threatening to kind of lower standards at the national level, and that didn't happen. So I'm not, I could, we can delete that one
Okay,
as far as I'm concerned. If anybody else objects, you can
I agree.
spoke there, so yeah. The other one that we have there, high cap curriculum, my understanding is we have a high cap curriculum now. I mean, so it's my, process of implementing it. That-
What we have as a model for clustering students in classrooms, that would have only ordered different curriculum, but it's professional development and training for teachers, which we've identified what we're doing, and we started training this. So it's all new material that's not pieces like working with the staff to help them.
Right. Right,
I
And
agree.
yes, all
that-
that is finished.
Yeah, I agree that that one's taken care of.
okay, yeah. All right, that's the one. Let's see, I also, I guess in terms of combining, I see community parent council and I see family community engagement. To me, the parent community council is kind of one of the ways to do family and community engagement, so they kind of fit together, I don't know. So they're kind of
okay.
one thing, where I was thinking of it, let's see.
Creative word. Yeah, I think we could take that one out.
Yeah, I think that the idea behind that was to make sure that they were, adequately, well, yeah. Distributed. Yeah, that was the number one thing to come back, so, yeah, there's some interesting, my understanding is, I guess. The creative, we have a contract or a subscription with the organization that funds those, and we're evaluating whether or not we want to continue that subscription.
Yeah, they changed their menu of
Yeah.
subscription, so there's
Yeah.
3 different ones. And the one that we have been comfortable using is now the middle one that they
Okay.
raised the price on. And they have another default one, and then they have one that's even further down the line. We're considering keeping the same plan that we have. We had a meeting with the CLL, and we'll consult with the teachers to
Yeah,
decide which one they want to go with.
Yeah.
But I think status quo is pretty good. It's just
Okay.
costing us a little bit more money. And then we are purchasing, new computers for the elementary labs.
okay, good, yeah. Okay, yeah, I think we can take that one off of part of this at this point. Anything else, anybody's? I've got, of course, someone's needs to be happy, but maybe I should talk about those first before, and then I'll kind of go through the list, the ones that I think are the kind of the highest priority ones. So, and most of these, I think, are kind of planning things. So I know there's, and you've been doing this for a while, the College of College and High School. And, there's nothing about that. We're down in yesterday, and coming back, and, I know there, I believe the high school is in the process of working on that in terms of having more, options available to students. So anyway, that's I throw that one out for consideration. It's something that's kind of lay out. Okay, what are we trying to get with this? And I know there's a variety of universities that we could partner with, and I don't think, I'm not aware that we have. I know, I think Central has a program that's widely used and different, there's all kinds of different ones we could do, but whether I don't believe we have one. Correct. I don't think we have a partnership. So anyway, I'm just thinking just having a plan for what we're going to do with that would be really helpful. The other one, which think there, I don't know, maybe it would be a policy, but having a facilities plan, or kind of a 5-10 year facility plan for where we're, as we're getting closer to potentially being, able to go out there to the bond potentially. We need to start thinking about, what do we want? We did the last one, secondary schools, now I think maybe probably focusing on elementary schools, but having some kind of a 5-10 year plan for facilities and so forth, where we're trying to get to. The other one is, that one's in the work relating to one policy that we're under consideration, that's the financial education policy in terms of, can we implement, or do we have a plan to implement the state standards in financial education? And I think what was presented by, there's, go out and talk to DC, go down to the junior achievements, and there's a lot of good stuff there, and it's potentially, I could see our the standards being implemented just by implementing those two, depending on what we decide to do, and as I know, both of those have a really pretty rich set of stuff, and so we decided to implement that. So anyway, that's another one that's looking kind of a plan for. And the last one is, kind of ties to our strategic plan, but is, so the state board and the state is talking about is how the portrait of the graduate. So it's developing, what we want our students to come out of school with, what kind of skills and so forth. And it's beyond just the academic skills, but it talks about, and the Board of Education is a good example of it, and lots of schools that have this, but anyway, something to work on, so we know what we're trying to get to. Come out with not only academic skills, but social emotional skills, cognitive skills, interpersonal skills, all those kinds of things. So that's kind of this, and then the ones that I would go to highest, I think, financial stability. And so these are ones that are kind of top of mind in the short term, or in the immediate term, which is kind of what I'm looking at. And then, and we're working on all of these things, so this is not something, new things. Field language, just because, we're launching that next year, and so I think it's important to keep that. And I know I think we're still in the process of recruiting folks, and so I just thought that one is really important, at least, and you guys chime in if you agree or disagree on these things. But the other one is, the two are the kind of social emotional learning and mental health supports. And those are things that, we have stuff going through the Registered Safety Council, and we've got some new social workers. We've got, so there's a lot of stuff in the works in that one. I just want to make sure that, that's still a priority, particularly as, students we're coming out of COVID and getting back into things, and, there's just a whole lot of stuff about mental health students and teachers, students and teachers, or students and teachers. And then, of course, our race and equity work, that's always, high on the list. And developing in the community parent council, that's been a really good start. So I'm just keep rolling on that one. And then the academics, which is the acceleration program. And again, I think I was looking through some of the details of the IRA that Jeff gave us, and I agree, there's some really good, some really good progress going on, at least, so that tells me that there's a lot of good stuff going on in the classrooms in that regard, so which is great, but I want to keep our focus on that. And so those are the ones, well, the other one that I would say was the arts. Again, now I'm looking for a plan. We've had the study, we have some recommendations, but we need to kind of have a plan here, and this could be a multi-year plan, but what we're trying to do in terms of growing the band, the choir, the drama, all those, and the hours in the elementary schools, all those kind of things. Just a lot of this stuff, I really want to, have a plan so we can, see where we're going. It may take multiple years to get there, but it's fine. So, but as we consider budgets for a year, each year, we can say, okay, we're going to put this, and we're going to try and get this far this year and this far. So because we don't have a plan, and it's like, well, what are we doing? So that's my book. But that's
Yeah, I really want to start. I apologize for the change. We talked about that
Yeah.
It just seems like we need to have a plan about how we're gonna go about doing it, in an effective manner. There's not too much unfair now.
It's by definition.
Yeah.
It's our priority, so that's why
Yeah.
I'm gonna be resisting doing the 1, 2, 3, 4 thing, but I understand that there's so many resources but the other thing is we're doing something on all of these things. So it's not like we're not doing anything, it's just kind of what's, top of mind right now, and there's working. Yeah.
Focus on getting one school,
Yeah,
because that happens for one, they're progressing from there, so they're getting,
yeah,
So my list, some of it is on here and some of it isn't, so. Then where it says onboarding, staff, I would add retaining staff. And that not only has budget implications, but it has contract implications and all of that too. So how does that stay before us all the time, not only just getting them, but keeping them? I think under the social and emotional learning for staff and students, I think we've done a great job of emphasizing students. I think we need to emphasize staff more. If you're in the staff, and if you're in any of our buildings for very long, the staff will tell you how tired they are. And that's hard just to stay. So I don't know what that looks like. Does it look like more coaching? Does it look like more peer groups? Does it look like, I don't know. But I think we need to really explore the support for staff. I think, one of the things we hear is the not having the vice principals in the elementary has been a real problem for the principals, especially the new principals, trying to get a handle on everything without a full-time vice principal to help with some of the ongoing daily stuff. So I think all of that comes into a category of staff support. I would love to have us develop more and after-school supports for different kind of learning opportunities, not clubs, but more like tutoring centers. After-school drop-in or evening drop-in kind of places where kids can get more help. I don't know, it's gonna be interesting to see if our, what's the group that we have doing the after school? Champion. If champions, if we can somehow correlate that with test scores, that would be great to see. If we could see that they're actually helping our students, or are they just a holding spot for our kids?
Yeah, I think the purpose of the, I believe the extended learning day as well as after school program both had implications with iReady test scores, kind of working with the students with that information.
Right, but I don't know that we actually have a way to track it. It'll be interesting to see if we can actually connect those kids that have gotten that support with their test scores. I don't know. Whatever it is, I don't think we have quite enough support for our kids. And these are just thoughts that, I throw out there, and then as you guys as the experts, I want you to come up with a solution. We have so many of our kids. If you go to the elementary school, you go into one class, any class, and there are 2 or 3 kids that are not engaged. And it's because they can't learn. There's something going on at home. I don't know if it's a social emotional or a learning thing, whatever it is, but these teachers then are unable to reach a few kids. And I think they need more support in those classrooms. So whether that's team teaching, whether that's, having more support. I know one of my kids needs a one-on-one. He walks out of the classroom every day, he wanders around the school all day. the only time he'll sit down is to watch a movie. And it's not an educational movie. And so they put him in front of a computer because then he will sit down. And this has been for 3 months now. And I'm not blaming the teacher. They're doing the best they can. They got 20 other little kids in there that, so, but how do we help that one kid? I don't think we have the services in place for, to help all of our kids be successful. And that seems to be our goal, to help all of our kids. And there are some kids that are being, not quite getting what they need. And then the last thing I'll say is, the intramural sports between the elementaries has been a big plus. And I would really like to support seeing that continue as a way of community building. It lets especially at the elementary level where there's no other athletics, it lets them be athletic. If we could do it at the middle and high school level, it lets the kids that aren't actually, gonna play on the team, but they get to play games against the other kids or with the other kids. So I just would like us to somehow prioritize that intramural program. And it's not in the budget. I don't know how we would build it in, but I think it goes with the SEL stuff. I think it goes with family and community engagement. I think it's a way to meet a bunch of these things, even arts, because I think sports is an art. So those are my kind of out of the box thoughts, and I'm sorry that I'm also not just saying 1, 2, 3 on these things.
I just comment on the after school program. So I'm working in the after school programs in robotics at Cashew, and we've been doing that for a number of years. And we used to have like 14, 15 students sign up for that. This last year we started out with like 5 students, and the reason is because we have a embarrassment of riches in after school programs. And so we have champions, we have Disney, we have athletics, we have robotics, which is great. The problem is, that there was no coordination between, so we need like a master schedule after school programs, which we never had to do, so that, because there's many students that I know that want to do multiples of those things. And which, if we had it scheduled right, potentially, we could do that. And so, we've never had some of the after school opportunities, which is great, but we need to, I think, do that. And whether that kind of master schedule for after school program, whether that takes place at the building level or maybe some district support in that, I don't know, but because we're doing, the teacher that I work with robotics is constantly trying to navigate, okay, there's too much of this. So how do we work out so students can do both, or maybe we do one on Monday? We're pretty flexible on robotics, so we have kids that come in on Monday and then we do it on Tuesday and all that kind of stuff. And there's some flexibility built in, but anyway, that's on the after school programs. That's the good news of that. The good news is we have tons of them. We figure out how to get maximal.
Be interesting to see what percentage of kids in the school participate. Is it the same kids in every group?
Yeah.
Or is it 80% of the elementary school?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I guess now the question becomes, do you have anything close to it? You're looking, obviously, you're looking better than you were. How do we help you get closer to kind of something that you can work with? You said you were trying to get, the goal is to kind of get some numbers on these things. I don't know.
Or at least, and obviously we're not gonna do 1 through 20.
Yeah.
But 1s, 2s, and 3s may be more realistic, with 1 being at the forefront, more pressing, and then 2, and then, 3. But again, we kind of want something that we can work with. That is also one of the main documents that help support when we do the budget advisory committee. So that we can say, hey, this is kind of what we're working with.
Right.
Here's our thoughts, let's talk about this. And then again, that's where even some of, even though I know we still have another round of ESSER, the ESSER 3 to hold us, another year, as well as learning loss as well. But still going back down to that zero-based budgeting, even with having those dollars, because eventually they will sunset, and if we're already getting ready to start the work, then it makes it a little bit easier when 24 rolls around and we really have to start from scratch all over again.
So I'm wondering, so this original document was kind of organized around some of the goals, the high level goals that you like in the strategic planning process, and then we kind of put these line items underneath them. And then there was the response about what's going on. And like I say, I think there's something going on in every one of these areas, so it's not like a matter of zero.
Well, would it be possible, I mean, I was thinking about clumping them by innovative and ongoing, so dual language is ongoing, but we need to keep emphasizing it. Innovative might be the new things, but I don't know.
Yeah, innovative or planning or something that we're, yeah, working on. I don't, but let's see, what you're trying to get to is, something. And what are the higher level ones that maybe will be more focused on at least in the short term?
Correct.
Yeah, I think part of it may be, I mean, with the additional information that you have there, we have another column that we have in there that might show, or even in the budget side, kind of what additional dollars may be associated with some of those, because if you're talking about adding staffing, that's going to be added.
Right.
So we want to show kind of where that's going to be. I think in thinking about the information we're starting to receive about both our enrollment projections and any categorical pieces. Obviously, things coming out of the legislature, if there's any new money that could be addressing some of these issues as well. And as we look at the other things, so we're saying, maybe to Director Bullock's next point, you know, this innovative thing or a temporary piece, and we're addressing it with ESSER, knowing that it's got a 1 year life, it's got a 1 year lifespan. So it's probably not addressing after that, unless the board were to say, no, this is what we want to continue to do. But then it's going to have to be that adjustment of something else, probably sunsetting and not being there. So that it is helpful to hear these pieces so that we can start to kind of group them in areas. And then maybe also even give kind of a subset of budget implications per area by grouping, so you can see what those may be.
So if we go further down this, Dennis, do you have some, I mean, any of those particular ones kind of stand out to you from a student perspective as being really important?
I was gonna say the academic acceleration program.
Okay.
Where students, there was 60% of students were like 2 or more grades levels behind. Because I think right now with our school district especially, we're pretty low on the passing rate just for like standards overall. So I think we should focus on that just so we get our students to the base level that they should be at. Because we don't want to wait, because you know, the more they fall behind, the harder it is to get them back on track. And then I also want to focus on the last one. The recruitment onboarding system that specifically retains and empowers new and high quality staff. Because it is, to my understanding, that we are losing a few teachers right now. And we don't have, and also in some classrooms, we don't have teachers to teach. And so, you know, at the moment, our students are also losing a lot of learning or a lot of like core classes like science. Yeah.
Okay, and those are kind of your top two, essentially. Yeah, the quality staff one, we heard from the parent group, that's one of the ones that they're list too, yeah. Acceleration program. So Okay, so we kind of heard all the different positions and the question is, so the suggestion was to kind of potentially group some of these into. One suggestion was ongoing versus. Innovative or, I don't know, have in mind new, Jan, is that new or? When you say innovative, like a new initiative, or are you talking about just maybe stuff that we're already doing and focusing more on it?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking that, you know, if we talk about, figuring out how to support staff in different ways, whether it's team teaching or whatever those things are, to me, that's innovative, that's looking outside of the way we've always done things.
Yeah, in my mind, that's one of the strategies under the acceleration program, because I mean, I know they're looking at, or actually implementing some co-teaching models. So that's,
Oh, okay, see, I didn't know put it there, I would have thought that was only high school or something.
oh,
I didn't even know what that
no,
was.
yeah. No, this is, yeah, acceleration to my mind is across the board, all that, and it also includes the innovation we were talking about last time related to READA and ELL students, so we're focusing on that group of students, and we know if we get them going, then everything is up from there, so, yeah, like,
I'm wondering, instead of potentially the budget amount, which matters, but for the sake of this, maybe using the word funding, right? So we know that some things may fall under categorical, some may fall under ESSER, which is categorical.
yeah,
But then some of the new things might be under, you know, levy or enrichment,
yeah,
or new money. You know, however you want to label it and kind of
So you're thinking another column that is kind of the source.
the source of
Yeah,
the
either
funding.
basic education or grant or. That could be helpful.
so that's something you would have to do, right? We don't necessarily know, so we're just gonna put down kind of these concepts or, you know, ideas, and then you guys figure out, okay, in order to do that, this is what we're proposing. And like I said, in a lot of cases, we already have things that are ongoing in these areas. So that, yeah, you passions and where the funding source is to continue this or whatever, or enhance it or potentially reduce it. I don't know, if you run out of dollars or something.
And I think it could be helpful for the board, just so you understand where that funding is coming from, so that if it then does come up again, to say, we need to sunset this, here's why, because it was under this funding category. And if we wanted to continue that, we would have to swap that out with stopping another program or getting another grant that might cover the same thing, but in some cases, depending on its funding source, it may not be eligible for something like that. Like there are cases where if you're using Title I for something, you can supply it with other funding once it kind of goes away. So,
Well, we want to group some of these also, to me, staff appreciation goes under social and emotional learning support for staff and students. And AVID goes under there, and I could see that, several things could go under the acceleration program.
Yeah, we can have kind of high level topics and then multiple topics underneath.
So
Those,
they
I
aren't
mean,
thinking like they're competing, they're actually cooperative.
right, yeah, and that might provide some sanity to this list of just. I mean, dual languages is another one that's kind of under academic.
Yeah.
How we're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure we can do that right now.
yeah, I would suggest trying to do this on the fly.
But, you know, we get a little, two of us or whatever together to try and come up with that.
Could there be some explanation of this, biotech to expand and support CTE, would that be funded by CTE or would that be?
Yeah,
I believe, yeah, that was one, the biotech
Yeah.
to expand the, yeah.
When we talked about that, biotech, I think it was just an example.
Oh.
And if you went to the CTE program, the other night, there's seven of them, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just enrich, and that program, that's just a really good job of doing that. And that's been going, so I think we just kind of need to
Just keep it.
let it go. Keep it going, yeah.
So what we could do is take the notes from tonight, kind of integrate that into the list, group them kind of like categories, put the budget amounts that we have there, because eventually we will want to track that, and then put, the funding source, not by the dollar amount, but just by the category.
Yeah.
Just so that, that helps.
Oh, I can look at all these, where the funding source they go to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if it's to kind of group them, I think would be makes it easier to understand. That's always helpful, and it also shows, like, you know, it's like with cooperative nature, a lot of these things are kind of helping each other happen.
But some of them are more curriculum focused and some are more social, emotional focused.
Right, so you have like a bucket, right? So you have academics, social and emotional, and then maybe,
Well, there's a finance bucket, which is kind of its own bucket. And then there's this I call it staffing, that's kind of the staffing bucket, if you will. And then, yeah, family engagement and, community parent control and. Yeah, and like you're saying, staff appreciation, is under kind of social emotional support for staff and, yeah, so.
In grouping these also, what can be helpful is we can show how some of these are ongoing. They're a priority for the board, but they're not necessarily a budget impact, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because then you can distinguish between what are the actual budget priority issues and what are the kind of ongoing pieces. Because as you were saying, all of these are known. So if, for example, you go to, get to a point where the budget is really being impacted and we talk about, a financial hit to one of these areas, like family and community engagement. So we have kind of an idea about what that bucket looks like. But if we were going to decrease that, then we would know in that particular area, this is how much it's going down, or something like, I'm not saying we would do this because you just made it equal across the board for creative learning labs, but if you're like, or you have that amount at each school, that would be the budget area for that particular area. But I think by grouping it in these categories, we can at least see what those impacts are, especially if there was a dramatic impact to a categorical funding source. So if Title I was dramatically reduced, or the legislature did something new with category, they swap something out, put it into the funding source, all those pieces could come into play.
The other interesting is some of these actually are. It's always tricky because between social, emotional and academic, like outdoor education has academic value and certainly social emotional value. So
Right.
those categories.
I don't think we can separate those categories.
Yeah.
It's all, I think those.
But-
Educational, emotional. or-
Yeah, and also the category of student success.
So we could work with this and kind of put it together and then work with a couple of you if you'd like, and then report that back out to the board again. Just to make sure there's some that correctly.
Okay.
And it's a document that you feel supports the information that you need and reflects the prioritization kind of values that you have.
Oh, that helps.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. So hopefully, if we could do that, get together within the next week so that before the budget committee gets started, they have an idea. And that seems to be accurate in the reflection. That would be great.
So I want to bring up one other thing that I just can't believe we've kind of overlooked this for years now. Now that Beth Paquette, is that what you said? Now that she died, one of the promises I made to her when I came on the board was to work on getting a health clinic in high school. I mean, we've not done that. And it surprises me that it didn't come up in our strategic plan. It just hasn't come up anywhere. And, I don't, at this moment, I don't think we can put it on our board priorities, but I sure want us to talk about it at some point, because somehow that one has just fallen off the map.
Well, I would say the clinics, vaccination clinics and physicals that we're doing are a lot more than we were doing
That's,
before.
yeah,
So,
very
I
true.
mean, and we have a dental clinic that we're trying to do now that's mobile.
Yeah.
So I think we're providing a lot of those same services that you might find, even though it's not in physical one location on a daily basis. So, I think there's some talk also with the city originally around one of their, senior centers coming in and having a clinic possibly located in there. So I'm not sure if that would still be the case, but I had a conversation several years ago about that possibility existing, so.
The other thing that's always been in my mind is, so who's one of the big healthcare providers is
Self point.
Elton, yeah, for years has been talking about it.
Right.
I mean, but the city,
In our lifetime, I think.
yeah, and I asked them, a few years ago, yeah, we want to do that, and then I lost track of what it was, where it kind of lost it in the mechanics. of
No,
things,
it's
but,
still.
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah,
That's what we have with as well. Yeah.
so, I mean, it's literally within a
Yeah.
block and a half,
Yeah,
but, yeah,
Something to keep in mind.
yeah, that one maybe on the list is kind of a.
and I do think our specialized clinics and everything are really, really good. I think that it misses out on a lot of things that teenagers are dealing with. That they don't necessarily have access to professional help with, and maybe you're getting it from their friends. Or the internet, or if they do make it to a doctor, they have to go all the way to. Burien or CTAC or Seattle, because we don't have anything here.
Okay, so, let's see. I mean, I'd be happy to work on this, somebody else. Okay, okay. So we got myself and then signed up for, you guys can schedule a meeting or something.
Yeah, we'll work with Ms. Porter, find a meeting and Ms. Bird, find a time to get together.
So saving more time, is there any other thing you want to talk about on this subject, or otherwise we can adjourn early and move through the 6:30 meeting?
Can we adjourn early, can the three of us chat before we start the next meeting? No. We stay in session, we can talk.
Not non-budget.
Yeah. okay.
You know, that's good.
I see you on this side. Okay. Well, hearing nothing, then I will adjourn this meeting and we'll reconvene at 6:30. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dave.